But the guy is Dean Seddon, and he was billed as being from the north. He's from St. Helens, which is not far from Wigan, where my eldest son was born. I lived in Wigan for a while because my ex-wife was from Wigan, a great part of the world. He told me about a Wigan kebab, which is I think it's a meat and potato pie between two barm cakes, which are like big buns. That's a Wigan kebab. I'd not heard that before. Anyway, on a serious note, he has a business called Maverick, and his talk was about building your sales pipeline with LinkedIn. And isn't it interesting that we've been talking about sales pipelines? That's his background. And note, it was really good that he had a QR code, and they're becoming very fashionable. I'm leading the world on that. Maverick has been training, consulting, and coaching business since 2014. And every month, we help more than 5,000 businesses online using our webcast online platform and services. That, in fact, is probably the overall people. But he's got a significant business, this guy has, so he's worth listening to. He's got 43 total employees. I don't know whether they're actually employed or whether they're freelance, but it doesn't really matter. And he's got some serious business going. So I thought, as I say, it's well worth listening to. And he asked the question to begin with, would you invest in a method that was a 97% failure rate? He'd previously said, of course, that in LinkedIn, are you using the channel as a way for you to avoid the phone? He asked the audience that, and I thought there was something in that, because we talked about that inbound, outbound last week, and we talked about sometimes the fear of reaching out, and maybe we can discuss that fear if somebody's got it in the open discussion. But he said, would you invest in a method that has a 97% failure rate? And he basically talked about the fact that we get pitched a lot. And he showed some examples of the sales pitch that we receive. And again, we can talk about that. But he showed us what the success looks like. And he said, if a company's going to mail out, do a broadcast, and a bit like an email broadcast, but on LinkedIn, and we're on the receiving end of these on many occasions, reach out to 1,000 people, you're likely to get 140 responses, which is 14%, 38 leads, you'll end up doing 29 pitches. From those pitches, you'll end up doing 12 proposals, and then you'll probably close 4. Does that make sense to anybody? Would anybody like those sort of figures? Well, of course, it depends on what the value of your product is. If you've got a £20,000 product at the end, or a £20,000 sale, or a £100,000 sale, obviously a good way to go. Doesn't do anything for your relationships, for those people you don't reach out to. And he did cover a session in the bank, and he shows you there a number of the type of things that people do. And funnily enough, while I was we were messaging each other yesterday, a pitch came in for another cryptocurrency deal, and I thought, how appropriate. We receive it all the time. Got to learn for it not to irritate me. And he covered there the effect of multiple exposures. One of the key parts that he made is that you've got to take LinkedIn seriously. You cannot just post on LinkedIn and then a week later post. I think I've got the figures here. I think if you've not done another post in 72 hours, you're toast. 72 hours. So you put a post up, 72 hours later, you're no longer seen by LinkedIn. That was the basic premise. So he did point out that you do need to have some sort of strategy to be posting on a regular basis for the long term. So he looked at the, he showed us this slide, which was, where is your focus? Now, the sales focus is for a quick impact. There's no compound effect, and it's some quick posts because we're short of connections and what have you. The marketing focuses on the right is one where you've got a compound effect. You're doing it for the long term. You're posting diligently, you're building up your report, etc. Even if you're doing it on a long-term basis, if you're doing it on a long-term basis, he points out that you can burn a lot of cash there. And it's what we said last week. If you're not careful, you're spending a lot of time and the results are right at the end. But he said the medium term, the best way is the hybrid focus, where you're doing a combination of posts. And also, I might add, a combination of online content and outbound connections. I think we agreed with that last week. He asked the question who you're selling to, and he's promised me a template, which as soon as I get that, I'll post it out to everybody. And I'm thinking that maybe we can complete the template and share it and have that as the basis of discussions next week. So, and I think it's necessary. I think you'll see as I go further that it's necessary that if you feel that LinkedIn can be a valuable part of your strategy, it has to be treated seriously. So you've got to decide who are you selling to? What is your target sale? Why do they need it? What problems will it solve? What does your current reality look like? What's the target sale? I.e., what is their current reality like? And what is the target sale? So that's no more different than what we've discussed in the past. Where are they now? Where do they want to get to? And you need to find that out. What challenges have they got? What's stopping them getting there? And how can you help them meet those challenges and get to where they want to cover? And that needs some thinking about in the way you position yourself with your content and with your conversation. And the point he also made is we need conversations. Blasting out with high volume is not the answer. It's about quality, and it's about quality conversations with content that can educate. And you'll see where this fits in a moment. And that's the one client profile that he's promised, but unfortunately it's not here in time. So even so, I wouldn't be covering that today. I think that's a really good one, if you agree, to cover next week. And he covered 7 steps, and I thought this was really interesting. He says, stop pitching, start priming. Nobody wants to be pitched. And when you prime your prospects, and I'm going to show you how he does that, you increase your connection acceptance from 15% to 65%. Never pitch, just prime them until they are ready. Until they are ready. And he has a formula for that. And so eventually, instead of a 0.4% success rate, you'll get a 15 to 25% success rate. And the algorithm and your content will then work for you. So basically in those 7 steps, it's interaction, interaction, connect. So there's 2 bits of interaction. You can then request a connection. You then thank them for the interaction and the connection. Then you've got a couple more interaction when you can then open up a conversation. And then a bit like our steps, you can shorten that on some occasions, I'm sure. But that's a good format, I felt, because eventually the conversation is the offline conversation. It's taking people onto a PM and then onto a phone call or a Zoom call. Now, this I thought was very interesting. What should you post? And he said it was a content sandwich. It's a mixture between business posts and engagement posts. And just look where I am there. Engagement posts are easy to like and give you visibility. You know, they're lighter, they're more personal, maybe about industry news, maybe post about prospects, maybe of interest, or there's some humorous piece. And this is where people say, oh, well, it's becoming a bit more like Facebook. You've got to be very careful on this. Posting borderline videos from TikTok are not going to do your brand much good unless you're a stand-up comedian, that is. So you've got to be careful that whatever you're posting needs to be in line with who you are, who you want to be seen as a person. But personal post, and I must admit, some of the personal posts I've seen about people educating their children or whatever, that's given me a really nice feeling. I've shared that and got quite a lot of traction, if you like. Now, I've thought in the past, well, is that given me anything? Actually, it's put that human side. So there's a balance. So I suppose we've all been intuitively doing that well. And I know a number of people on LinkedIn here do that. But the other sandwich is the business posts. And that is value proposition posts, lead generation posts, direct promotion, news about your company. And it's that combination of the both that's important. I suppose that is like a real conversation anyway, because when you're having a conversation like on Friday, you're talking about your business, but you're also talking about other things about their interest or, lighter subjects as well. It's no different. He did cover that trust was won by repeating one message, and he cited Trump about his message of take back control, make the US great again. He was very good at repeating and repeating and repeating to a point where people believe that. And I think what I got from that was that you've got an overriding message about where your focus is, and you don't want to be bobbing about everybody trying to show people and inadvertently showing people you're a jack of all trades. And again, it's 72 hours of not doing something, you're out of the LinkedIn algorithms. So he showed some combinations there of what he does, the value posts, and he really he was saying that he talks a lot about, he goes for the people that hate cold calling, because what he's basically, his proposition is that you can generate lots of leads far easier, quicker, and more quality leads using his services on LinkedIn. And I guess he knows his audience hate cold calling. And the next would be engagement posts, like happiness is a peace of mind there, picture of I don't know which dog it is, but I think dogs and cats can be very good. I think Chris and Ollie could definitely want to be doing a double act with their cats, that's for sure. Maybe Anne-Marie as well. So again, what would we post? Well, teach and educate. What is it that people, what is it that you have in the way of experience that you could teach other people? That's sharing your expertise. Actionable advice in certain circumstances. So if it was about choosing an electric car, or should you wait? What's the implications? What advice would you end up giving? And I noticed that whenever I watch YouTube videos, I watch people that will do reviews, but the people I admire the most and follow the most, they end up giving advice, which is good. How to solve the pain that your target audience has. Testimonials and examples of work you've done. Experience your personality. That's bringing your personality out in whatever form you feel comfortable with. Now, the next point he made is that graphics have an ability to stop the scrolling. And basically the structure is you've got to stop people scrolling. And he said, if there's any salespeople out there, the graphic to include is, what's his face on the left? DiCaprio. Probably because of his the film about Wall Street. But that headline was specifically designed, social selling versus cold pitching. There's a bit of curiosity with the guy on the right, except he does look cold. So does your content get people to stop scrolling? I put a post up this morning of an owl, meaning wisdom. It was a picture of a like a art piece up on the second floor of the first floor of the hotel, and that I chose that just to deliberately stop people. And is your content structured well for viewers? Has it got staying power? Will it get people to see more? And does your content demand a response? And he covers those as follows. So first of all, social selling doesn't work in my industry. So there was Cure What a Load of Crap. I think it was a great title, that, although in fairness, I did look at the image first. So he's got a double whammy there. And I think that was particularly interesting. So visuals and colors, size of the media item, how much space does it take up? Cliffhanger, teaser, needing to know more, which is the way people sell new series on Netflix, or they sell the new Bond film. There's the teasers there. There's some action going on. Well worth thinking about. I noticed that in his, I didn't notice it at the time, but you'll notice it's almost double spaced and it's got short sentences. So he does that because it's easy to scan. And he said the first two lines tease, they're the social selling doesn't work in my industry, what a load of crap. And you can see there, the third one down was quite key. He said, ask questions. If you can ask a question in your opening line, that's really good. Getting people to stop and think about answering that question. If you can answer if you can ask two questions in the opening line, or basically if you ask your questions at the beginning, you've got to ask questions at some point anyway, but if you ask it at the beginning, it can have a double whammy effect. So again, it's that need to know more. That's what you're trying to create. It says you've got 3-second views or more matter. The more views, the more equals the more views. So basically what he was saying is that in all of the social media challenges, they want you to, and it doesn't matter what social media you're on, they want you to stay on their platform. Because the longer you stay on the platform, the more chances they can sell you something, or at least the advertisers on there can sell you something. So they want to keep you there. So, and they also want to feed up information or content that you like. Now, whether that's political views, whether it's, at the moment I'm looking at the new Apple product, so I keep getting fed more and more. And therefore, if people view your content more and they like your content, then LinkedIn will serve them more content. So more views, more views equals more views. They said that videos and PDFs in particular encourage longer stays. Well, I've known that about video, but of course you've got to make the video impactful and interesting. But nevertheless, the people that watch it will find it. They're watching it because they find it interesting. But PDF, I didn't realize that PDFs encourage longer stays, as does long copy encourage longer stays. And I was listening on my walk this morning to the difference between articles and posts. And I'll cover that. Wasn't covered last Friday. I'll cover that next week. And does your content demand a response? Now, there's people on this call that are far better at this than me. I am in envy of the people that get, I think it was Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie's very good at this, I find, and so is Marcus. You get really good conversations going. And I know you had a little bit of a hack, but nevertheless, you get those conversations going. So does your content start a conversation? A double question for stay and engagement. Does your post ring true and touch the emotions? Are you asking for people to share their view? That's something I don't often do. And whoever engages today will probably see you tomorrow. And what he basically said is the first 2 hours of your post appearing matters. Now, this is interesting. People can spot stock. Now, that's good for the photographers here. Can't remember what else he said about that. I don't recall that even in the recording, but there's lots of stock photography around. But if you can have your own photography or photography done by one of our photographers here, then that's even better. Use media that supports your point. And by the way, I should say that if you're doing a photographic session with your photographer, perhaps as part of that is to think about what sort of post and what media, etc., that you could possibly use. And so producing extra shots for media. Be interested in the photographer's comments on that. Use media, support your point. Corporate looking stuff gets ignored. Agree with that. Human visuals seem to get more visibility. And think of your content as real estate. Its value rises the more footfall it gets. And remember, LinkedIn's goal is to keep you viewing. People can spot corporate propaganda. Don't become a content robot. Share your take, a bit about you, the value that people buy from people. I think that point is I've just read that. I think it's all very well. There's a lot of people, and I see it with BNI people. They will share the BNI post. There's never any content from themselves. They're just sharing their corporate stuff. And it's not just BNI. They're just sharing content from other people, suppliers, etc. That is not going to get much engagement. It's rather a bit like, this is what I sell, buy it. That's my take on that. Anyway, so that was the point. I'm going to stop.